It's my Venom The Last Dance review, or Venom TLDR, and before I start, the TLDR is that I need my comfort anadramas, because I'm not sure whether I should recommend this one or not. It's a Sony superhero film, and yeah, it's at least better than Madam Web. Because Madam Web was a superhero action film with no superheroes and almost no action in it, and this movie at least delivers on those things, but I'd still not consider it to be a cinema great. Tom Hardy co-wrote it, and Tom Hardy is a lunatic. When they worked together on a movie, Hardy allegedly burst into Shia LaBeouf's room because he wanted to wrestle him. Shia LaBeouf, according to his recollection of these events, was with his girlfriend at the time, had no clothes on, and Tom Hardy still burst in, wearing his gym gear and wanting to wrestle. A suggestion that could maybe only be worse if he was in his Bane outfit at the time. The entry of Tom Hardy supposedly caused the lady to shriek and hide. Tom and Shia ended up wrestling into the hall, and supposedly then Tom Hardy fell down a flight of stairs and knocked himself out. Tom Hardy sounds like a complete madman, and looking at this film that he co-wrote, I can pretty much believe that. The movie, I think, was aiming for some of the success of Deadpool and Wolverine. It's the third and supposedly last movie in the series, and seemed to be trying much harder for comedy than previous entries did. And if this is the end, maybe Tom Hardy can get back to doing a season 2 of Taboo now. Venom seemed to be trying to fit into that superhero action comedy genre, and that had just the small snag for me that the comedy in it didn't make me laugh much.
We're gonna need to work on that.
Delicious! You take me to all the finest places!
I cringed a lot more than I laughed. The plot of the movie varies wildly between being highly predictable and so random it just comes from nowhere. I knew roughly what the end of this film was going to be right at the start, as soon as I saw the Chekhov-like placement of giant vats filled with something called hyperacid, whatever the hell that's supposed to be. And also for reasons the hyperacid was labelled like everything in the Batcave of the Adam West Batman. Oh, what a mystery we have here. I do wonder why they really wanted the audience to know that these were unfeasibly large vats of something called hyperacid. Maybe someone should call Hercule Poirot or Scooby-Doo to solve this intricate mystery. Oh, I do wonder if by the end someone is going to get melted by being doused in hyperacid. And as predictable as that was, in the very same film, Venom falls off of a plane, ends up catching a ride with some hippies to Las Vegas, where he walks into a casino and just so happens to run into the Asian lady that he knows from the convenience store in San Francisco in the first film. In the entire continental United States, he just by accident finds himself in the same city, in the same casino, at the same time, at a slot machine maybe 20 metres from the one she's at. Then Mrs. Chen and Venom go to her room and dance to the song Dancing Queen by ABBA, and all that just came out of nowhere like a fever dream. In multiple places the plot relies entirely on just ridiculous coincidences, so should you give this movie a chance, that will depend entirely on you. If Tom Hardy schlocking it up and arguing with an alien parasite that's hijacked his body to say lots of goofy things, if that's something you really liked in the previous entries and you can't wait to get more, well, it feels like that's most of this movie. If you liked that, this movie frankly is for you, and don't let me put you off going to the cinema to watch it. But if you got tired of that after the first film, there's an awful lot of that in this film. Maybe catch Venom The Last Dance on streaming later, or if you get very bored or just don't watch it at all. It depends on you and the kind of movies you enjoy. But if you almost exclusively watch slow-paced European art house films, this one may not be for you. The movie has already proven to be divisive. There's a major split yet again on Rotten Tomatoes between the critic score and the audience score. The audience seem to like it on 80% at time of writing, the critics don't on 36%. It frankly has a very talented cast of actors including Tom Hardy, who was Bane and is now looking a bit rough, Chiwetel Ejiofor, who weirdly was in Doctor Strange, also in the MCU, but in this is playing a completely different character. He's gone from being a mystic wizard in Doctor Strange to a US military officer in this. The film also has Rhys Ifans from House of the Dragon in it playing a hippie. And it's a running theme lately that good actors are getting completely wasted like it's Grand Theft Auto. We're living in a decade where there's a crazy amount of acting talent and a crazy lack of writing talent. Now, if you made it this far into my video and you're feeling nice, liking the video may raise my mood, or maybe you could subscribe and put on notifications if the video raised yours. Maybe it will motivate me to stop being such a lazy sod and maybe make more than one video a week. Before I get into spoilers, at the start of my last few videos I've looked at some street interviews of the public saying indescribably silly things, and it occurred to me that the shocking videos that I'd been showing were all Americans. A lot from LA and Hollywood Boulevard, and I didn't want it to come off like I was being unfair to the US, so I specifically asked YouTube for street interviews of people in the UK saying silly things, and I was shocked because yet again, when I asked YouTube for that, it still gave me footage of Americans. It's like the old internet joke where someone manipulated Google so that every time someone asked for a list of great French military victories, Google instead asked back, "Did you mean great French military defeats?" So sorry America, it seems like Google just wants people to think you're dim. But after looking for a while I finally did find some UK ones, and if these are genuine, they are pretty bad. This woman, for instance, did not know the date of the Battle of Hastings.
When was the Battle of Hastings?
16.
Come on, no, don't tell her, Mum, don't tell her, Mum, don't tell her.
I don't know.
You don't know the Battle of Hastings?
No, sorry.
Mum, do you know the Battle of Hastings?
The Battle of Hastings is a very important battle in UK history, which may not seem so bad until you take into account that she's a history student at a university. And still, the American ones are just next level.
You know what country the Great Wall of China is in?
Country?
Yeah.
Japanese?
Yes.
And from here on there will be spoilers. The movie opens up with the bad guy of the film, kind of. A chained duck god called Null, who created the symbiotes, who then betrayed and left him imprisoned. Null is being played in this film by Andy Serkis, who played Gollum in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films, and they did so little with him in this film that I didn't even know it was him until I read the IMDb page of this film while writing this review. After the events of the previous films that I'm frankly having difficulty remembering, because I'm pretty sure I fell asleep during the last one. I think I fell asleep watching Morbius as well. In the last movie it appears Venom, in saving the life of Eddie Brock, created something called a codex, which can be used to free Null the Duck God, who has the very original motivation of wanting to end all life and light in the universe. So Null sends his insect-like creatures, the xenophages, to search the universe for the codex, enact his revenge on the symbiotes, and free him from God Jail. And this for me wasn't great, because Null really gets to do nothing in the movie whatsoever, and it's instead the xenophages who are the main antagonists of the film, and they don't have any personality really. For me, the bad guy in a movie tends to be more important than the hero in many ways, and this film, it kind of doesn't have one. Because what is Star Wars without Darth Vader? What would Infinity War have been without Thanos? What's Batman without the Joker? Superman without Lex Luthor? Wonder Woman without getting tied up with her own lasso? Meanwhile, Eddie Brock is in Mexico getting drunk in a bar. He's on the run, being sought by the authorities. He gets pulled through a portal for reasons, ending up I guess on an alternate Earth, and Venom wants him to drink despite Eddie not wanting it. And he's alarmingly similar to me when I drink. Kind of why I stopped. Venom then goes out for a Mexican meal for four, when Eddie objects to a dogfighting ring and some guys try to hurt him. Eddie decides to go back to the US to hide, but every time he turns into Venom, the xenophage that's already arrived on Earth can track him, so when Venom is hitching a ride back to the US on the outside of a plane, the phage jumps onto the plane. So it jumps some 35,000 feet into the air. They then fight on the plane, the phage goes into one of the engines, and Venom jumps off the plane to land in a desert. The phage lands in pieces in the desert and then just comes back together again. Meanwhile, the US government are also looking for Venom and other symbiotes to lock them up underground at Area 51. The facility above ground is being decommissioned and melted for plot reasons with large vats of hyperacid. Venom runs away from the government and the phage by turning into a Venom horse. Riding the Venom horse pulverises Eddie's knackers, and there's lots of fighting. Eddie hitches a ride with a family of hippies in a Volkswagen camper, sings along to David Bowie, and the hippies take him to Vegas, where he goes into a casino, meets Mrs. Chen entirely by coincidence, because just by accident they picked the same 50 square metres of the entire continental United States to be in at the same time, and then they dance to ABBA. Then Eddie gets captured by the government, who've been tracking him on CCTV cameras, and he's taken to Area 51, the exact same place that the hippie family are going, because they want to see an alien. The government want to liquidate Eddie so that the Codex gets destroyed and Null can't get free to destroy all life in the universe. But Venom saves Eddie. A load of phages then arrive at Area 51, and there's a large, stodgy battle between the government, the phages and the symbiotes. The hippies finally get to see some aliens and then quite quickly wish they hadn't, and in the end Venom separates from Eddie, traps all of the phages inside himself and dissolves both them and itself in hyperacid. So Eddie's now free, Null is still trapped, and that's the end of the film. And as I arrived at the end of the film I realised that the plot of that didn't really make much sense at all. Because all Venom and Eddie had to do in the plot of this film to save all life in the universe and prevent the freeing of a dark god was just to split up. I mean, the movie's watchable if you can turn your brain off, but I wouldn't bet on it winning any awards.
What country is the Queen of England from? Originally.
I definitely don't know.
No.
What is a country? What is a country? What is a country? Canada.
Yes.
If you only knew the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.